On the morning of June 6, 1944, British soldiers ran into machine gun fire on the beaches of Normandy carrying a weapon that, by every modern standard, should have been obsolete. Nearly half a century old. Wood and steel from another era. Yet while German troops fought with the sleek Carabiner 98K, the refined pinnacle of bolt-action engineering, British infantry clung stubbornly to their Lee Enfields. Not because of tradition, not because of pride, but because in real combat, one rifle simply worked better than the other. The short magazine Lee Enfield traced its origins back to the late 19th century, when the British Army realized black powder and single-shot rifles were no longer enough. James Paris Lee's detachable box magazine, combined with Enfield's rifling, produced a rifle that emphasized volume of fire over theoretical perfection. By 1907, the SMLE Mk3 was born, a rifle that would fight through 2 world wars and far beyond. European armies of the time obsessed over extreme range. German doctrine prized precision at 800, 1,000, even 1,500 yards. Their Mauser rifles reflected that philosophy. Long barrels, tight tolerances, and exceptional accuracy on paper. The British quietly ignored that thinking. Combat data showed most infantry fights happened inside 300 yards. So the SMLE's barrel was shortened to just over 25 inches, sacrificing long-range precision for speed and handling. In trenches, forests, and urban chaos, that decision would prove decisive. Firearms experts criticized the Lee Enfield's rear-locking bolt. Unlike the Mauser's front lugs, Enfield's design looked weaker and less accurate. On the range, those critics were correct. On the battlefield, they were wrong. The rear-locking system allowed faster cycling and greater tolerance for dirt. The bolt handle sat at a shallow angle, reducing movement between shots. Most importantly, the rifle cocked on closing, not opening, meaning soldiers could eject spent cases smoothly and chamber the next round without fighting spring resistance. Under fire, that mattered. By 1939, the SMLE was technically outdated, yet Britain doubled down. Factories across the empire produced millions more. This wasn't nostalgia. British commanders understood that war punished delicate engineering. Then came the training. Every British soldier was expected to fire 15 aimed rounds per minute. Skilled riflemen could double that. This wasn't a drill for show, it was doctrine. The Mad Minute trained soldiers to deliver machine gun levels of fire using bolt-action rifles. That training saved the British Expeditionary Force in August 1914. At Mons, 70,000 British troops faced more than twice their number. German units advanced confidently, and were stopped cold by a storm of rifle fire so intense they believed they were facing hidden machine guns. They weren't. They were facing disciplined riflemen cycling Lee Enfields at impossible speeds. German officers later estimated they'd encountered dozens of machine guns. In reality, Britain had just 4 per battalion. The rest was skill, muscle memory, and a rifle built for speed. Trench warfare destroyed elegant designs. Rifles drowned in mud, froze in rain, and rusted under constant exposure. German precision tolerances became liabilities. The Lee Enfield survived because it was loose. Clearances were generous. Parts had room to move. Where other rifles jammed, Enfields kept firing. To engineers, it looked crude. To soldiers, it meant survival. And as the Western Front swallowed men and machines alike, that outdated rifle revealed its greatest strength, one that would matter even more as the war dragged on. That strength revealed itself the moment conditions turned ugly. The Lee Enfield might feel rough, even gritty, but it kept moving. Mud, rust, ice, it didn't care. The German Carabiner 98K, built with tighter tolerances and front-locking lugs right near the chamber, was far less forgiving. Dirt gathered exactly where it hurt most. German soldiers often found their bolts binding at the worst possible moment, fighting to clear jams while British rifles continued to fire. The difference in bolt operation mattered more than most manuals ever admitted. The Lee Enfield cocked on closing. Opening the bolt required less force, even when fouled. If grime or corrosion started locking things up, a soldier could still wrench the action open and clear a stuck case. The Mauser's cock-on opening design forced the shooter to fight mainspring pressure while breaking fouled locking lugs loose. In freezing conditions, that became decisive. British units during the winter of 1917 reported rifles still working while German weapons seized solid with ice. Maintenance wasn't the difference. Tolerance was. Even water was accounted for. The SMLE's magazine well had drainage ports, allowing rain and meltwater to escape instead of pooling around cartridges. The Mauser's internal magazine had no such outlet. Water mixed with oil and residue, forming a corrosive paste. British armorers repeatedly noted rust hidden inside captured German rifles that looked pristine on the outside. Even the wood mattered. Lee Enfield stocks were typically walnut, softer, more resilient. Soldiers abused their rifles constantly, hammering trench stakes, breaking ice, prying crates open. Enfield stocks survived punishment that cracked the harder beechwood used on many Mausers. A cracked stock wasn't cosmetic. It could ruin accuracy or make the rifle unsafe. British Ordnance reports consistently recorded fewer catastrophic stock failures than seen in captured German weapons. None of this means the Mauser was a bad rifle. Quite the opposite. Paul Mauser's 1898 action became the benchmark copied worldwide. Its controlled feed extractor, massive front locking lugs, and three-position safety made it incredibly strong and accurate. On a calm range at 600 yards, a skilled German marksman would outshoot an SMLE every time. But wars aren't won on known distance ranges. Those tight tolerances that delivered accuracy also demanded perfect conditions. The Mauser's bolt required a full 90-degree lift, long rearward travel, precise feeding, then careful closure. Rush any step and you risked a misfeed. Under stress, cold, or exhaustion, that complexity slowed everything down. German doctrine reflected this. Training emphasized deliberate fire, careful sight alignment, and ammunition conservation. That approach made sense in 19th-century warfare. By 1914, and certainly by 1939, the battlefield had changed. Artillery dominated. Automatic weapons ruled suppression. Infantry fights happened fast and close. Here, the Lee Enfield excelled. A trained German soldier might manage 10 to 12 aimed rounds per minute. Respectable, but only half the British standard. Over just 2 minutes, a British rifleman could fire roughly 30 rounds while his German counterpart managed closer to 20. Multiply that across a section, and the imbalance became lethal. Magazine capacity amplified the effect. The Lee Enfield carried 10 rounds. The Mauser carried 5. British soldiers could sustain fire twice as long before reloading, and when they did, swapping magazines took seconds. German soldiers had to reload with stripper clips, a slower process even when everything went right. Drop a clip in mud or grass, and those 5 rounds became a problem. The mathematics of combat were unforgiving. A British section of 10 men could fire 100 rounds before pausing. A German squad could fire 50. During sustained contact, British units maintained continuous pressure while German units repeatedly paused to reload. That suppression shaped movement, morale, and survival. The magazine cutoff added another layer of flexibility. British soldiers could fire single rounds while keeping a full magazine in reserve, then instantly switch to rapid fire. The Mauser offered no such transition. You committed to one mode or the other. German soldiers noticed. After early battles, British troops often examined captured Mausers with professional curiosity and then handed them back. One veteran sergeant reportedly summed it up perfectly: "Fine rifle for a Sunday shoot. I'll keep the Enfield for killing Germans." That sentiment didn't change in North Africa or Normandy. Diaries from 1943 describe British units stripping German supply dumps, taking food, ammunition, even MP-40s, but leaving K-98KS behind. They looked impressive. They just didn't shoot fast enough. German prisoners captured in Normandy in 1944 repeatedly commented on British rate of fire. They respected the accuracy, but feared the volume. And as the war pushed soldiers deeper into chaos, exhaustion, and close-range fighting, It became clear that the rifle best suited to theory wasn't the one best suited to survival. And the men who faced it noticed. Lieutenant William Douglas Home later recalled interrogating a captured German sergeant after a firefight near Cannes. Through a translator, the man insisted his squad had been attacked by automatic weapons. Home explained it had been bolt-action rifles. The sergeant didn't believe him. He'd counted the shots. No bolt-action could fire that fast. So Home showed him. He took out an SMLE and demonstrated the mad minute. The German's expression shifted from disbelief to grudging respect, and then irritation. He had been beaten, not by modern machinery, but by a rifle he'd dismissed as outdated. That reaction wasn't unique to British troops. Across the Commonwealth, soldiers reached the same conclusion independently. Indian Army units, who made up a massive portion of Allied manpower, were fiercely loyal to the rifle they simply called the .303. Sepoy Jarnail Singh of the 4th Indian Division wrote home during the East African Campaign of 1941, describing captured Italian Carcanos and German Mausers. He tried them both and found them accurate, but slow. Good for careful shooting, he said. Not for battle. Indian troops fought everywhere. Deserts, jungles, mountains, monsoons. From the northwest frontier to Burma, their accounts repeated the same theme. The Enfield kept working when other rifles didn't. Australians were even more blunt. They had no sentimental attachment to British kit. If enemy equipment worked better, they used it. German stick grenades were preferred for certain tasks. Enemy optics and machine guns were eagerly adopted. But Sergeant Bill Griffiths of the 9th Australian Division noted something telling in his wartime journals. He never once saw an Australian willingly replace his Enfield with a captured rifle. The logic, he wrote, was simple. It works. Shoots fast. Shoots straight enough. Why change? The desert of North Africa pushed weapons to their limits. Fine sand crept into everything. Temperature swings warped metal. Oil mixed with grit into grinding paste. German manuals devoted pages to keeping the K98K alive in these conditions. British manuals were shorter. Shake it out and keep firing. Loose tolerances saved the Enfield again. Sand that seized tighter actions simply passed through. During the siege of Tobruk, armorers reported rifles caked internally with grit, yet still functional. One Enfield documented in August 1941 fired over 200 rounds across 3 days without cleaning and remained operational. Then came the jungle. Burma was the opposite extreme. Endless rain, constant humidity, mud that never dried. Rifles rusted overnight. Stocks swelled. Japanese Arisaka rifles, excellent designs on paper, suffered feeding issues as moisture affected tighter tolerances. The Enfield wasn't immune to rust, but it kept cycling. Sergeant Charles Carfrae of the Border Regiment described his rifle after weeks in the jungle. Blackened wood, surface rust, fouled barrel. When contact came at Ngeki Dok Pass in 1944, it fired flawlessly. Captured Japanese rifles, cleaner in appearance, often failed under the same conditions. Cold offered no mercy either. In Norway and later Northern Europe, temperatures dropped below zero. Lubricants froze. Metal contracted. German troops relied on special oils, supplies not always available. British troops solved the problem differently. They stripped all oil and ran the Enfield dry. It still worked. Canadian units in late 1944 reported Enfields functioning in sleet and freezing rain while German rifles froze solid. The cock-on closing action again mattered. Less force was needed to open the bolt when cold robbed muscles of strength. That reliability explains the rifle's astonishing service life. The Enfield entered service in 1895. It fought through 2 world wars and didn't stop. It served in Korea, Malaya, Kenya, Suez, and the Falklands. India produced them into the 1980s. Canadian Rangers carried them in the Arctic until 2015. No other bolt-action rifle comes close. The Mauser 98K, despite its brilliance, vanished within years of Germany's defeat. The Springfield, Mosin Nagant, and Arisaka followed the same path. Only the Lee Enfield endured, not because of nostalgia, but because it kept solving real problems. Britain never tried to build the most elegant rifle. They built one optimized for what infantry actually needed: speed, forgiveness, simplicity under stress. Those priorities mattered more than theoretical accuracy most soldiers could never exploit. Modern armies have relearned these lessons repeatedly. Early M16 failures in Vietnam echoed Mauser-style tight tolerances in jungle conditions. The fix: looser tolerances and chrome lining, ideas the Enfield embodied decades earlier. The AK-47's legendary reliability follows the same philosophy. Sophistication looks impressive on paper. Simplicity survives contact with reality. The Lee Enfield proved that the best weapon isn't the most refined, it's the one that keeps working when everything else fails. The British soldier's refusal to trade his rifle wasn't stubbornness. It was experience talking.